Hi guys, it's Adria, and it is yet again time for another story time video. This just happened to me last night. Just last night. So I have to film this while I'm still heated. Brandon wanted to do the video with me, but no, he's at work. I can't wait. I'm ready to film. Let's go. So this story is going to be about a salesperson barged their way into our apartment and forced us to buy steak. So we're just chilling. It's just random weekday night. I'm doing the dishes. Brandon's watching Glee. There's a knock on the door. Kind of weird because we don't really get that many visitors. People don't normally come to our door. Brandon answers it. I'm still doing the dishes. I kind of like glanced over my shoulder to look. I see a woman standing there and I'm just like, okay. You know, the water's running and stuff. The air conditioner's going, so it's kind of hard to understand everything. But I hear her saying, I have to sell all this before the end of the night. I'm trying to make a bonus. I hear her say, I'll just show you what I've got. I turn and I look and she's like walking away. And I'm like, what's happening? He's like, she's gonna go get her stuff, I guess. When she comes back, I'm just gonna tell her that we just went grocery shopping, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that'll work. So I'm just doing dishes, not really thinking about it. I'm like, whatever, we'll get her to leave, whatnot. So as I am standing there, still doing the dishes, next thing I know, I hear a thump on my living room floor. I turn around. This lady is putting boxes all over the floor. Like, she's in the living room dropping boxes on the floor. I'm thinking to myself, okay, Brandon like had to have let her in, gave her permission to come in. I'm like, there's no way she just barged in here and just started putting her crap all over my apartment. This is probably the most angry I've ever been in my entire life, but I didn't get angry until a bit later. So we'll keep going. I'm standing there washing the dishes. I'm kind of like, it made me super anxious because I don't like strange people, like, in close quarters with me. I don't like feeling like I can't leave the room because how our apartment's set up, like, I couldn't really leave the room. I don't think I really wanted to leave the room because I don't really want to leave her alone to, like, kill Brandon, but I just don't like that feeling of feeling like trapped because I'm at the sink and they're like behind me and I'm just kind of standing there. I'm like, okay, can more dishes just magically appear so I don't have to turn around and interact with this lady? I hear them talking. She's like, oh, what you pay at the grocery store, all this, I have chicken, I have steak. She keeps asking him what he likes and all that stuff. I turn around and I look at him and I'm like trying to get his attention. I'm like, make her leave, get her out, like motioning to him, like, say no, say no. And he's just like, then his eyeballs like look over at like our knife block, like on our counter. He's like eyeballing it. And he's like, and I turned and I looked at the knives. I was like, oh my gosh, should I pull a Dexter like to get this lady out of here? Like, Brandon, why don't you just tell her you were a vegetarian? Why don't you tell her we were just vegetarians? Why didn't you just say that when she came to the door? Like, there's so much you could have said. And she's just like, oh, what you would pay in the store. I'm trying to get this bonus, so I have to sell this before BS. BS, that's what every salesperson says. If a salesperson ever says that to you, flip them off because that is the biggest scam ever. They want you to feel sorry for them. Don't feel sorry for them. They're a crook. But we'll get to that. I'm trying to like not get heated until the heated part comes, okay? So she's like, oh, this box and the chicken and the steak and the New York strips, all this for $200 and blah, blah, blah dollars. It was like $240-ish dollars. I hear Brandon say, oh, it's a bit steep. He had just paid to get my hair done the day before. He's like, oh, well, I just got my girlfriend's hair done for her birthday. He's like, I can't afford that. And she's like, well, here's what I'll do. Just know this about every sales thing ever, they jack the price up so that you can be like, oh, it's a bit expensive. And they'll be like, oh, I'm so nice, so I'll lower it for you. No, what they're selling is worth 1/5 of what they are selling it for. So then I couldn't deal with it anymore. Our laundry room door is like right next to the kitchen sink. So I basically just like scurried into there. I'm like leaning over my washing machine like this, like just like, oh, like what is happening? I'm like having a full-on anxiety attack. Like I could not even breathe. I don't like strangers. I don't like strange people. I don't like being in close quarters with them. Like one time my grandma was literally having our carpets changed and these carpet guys were at our house all day long. I did not leave my room. That is how much I do not like strangers being in like my environment. Like I can't deal with it. I can't think straight. I can't talk to them. She's like, oh, I'll do this and this and this for $150. He's like, no, I still can't do that. And she's like, oh, but here's what I'll do for you. Can't you take a hint? He's like, I don't really need all this. I don't really have room for this. I don't know like the whole entire conversation word for word. I'm like an anxious mess. Like, I didn't open my mouth the entire time she was here, which is why I'm so mad at myself for this whole thing, because I could have screamed at her and asked her to leave, but I didn't. She was like, oh, well, I guess since, you know, I really need to sell these, I'll do this and this for $30. They were talking more, and she was like, oh, but to pay with debit, you have to spend at least $150, but I'll do this and this and this, and your total will be $50. And then it was like silent out there. And I was like, okay, she probably left. So I walked out. I'm like, what happened? He's like, she's coming back. And I was like, well, did you like tell her no? And then I look at the counter and there's 2 boxes of steak on the counter. I'm like, Brandon, no, what's happening? I'm standing at the counter like on my laptop, and Brandon's like sitting next to me, and she like comes back in. They like called a number, and she had like this receipt. I don't even know. I still don't even know. I asked Brandon like how he paid for it. I guess they called a number, gave them his debit card, and I'm just like, I'm standing there, and I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, this bitch needs to leave. Like, she needs to get out of here. The only words she said to me before she left was, oh, happy birthday. Girl, you didn't even acknowledge I was here the whole time. I was standing there, and I'm just, we have 12 steaks. I cannot believe a cow was killed for this kind of BS. So Brandon throws away the brochure and he's like, oh, good, that's over with. I'm like, no, this isn't over with. I'm gonna research their company. I'm gonna find reviews and stuff, and I'm gonna see what their deal is. 90% of the reviews were all bad. People saying they got food poisoning from it. The meat wasn't even usable. They were charged more than one time for the same payment. Their payments were altered. People saying they've tried to get their money back, that they don't cooperate. If I was an anime character, there would have been smoke coming out of my ears. I have never been more angry I think I was seeing red. I have never been this angry in my entire life. I was like, I want these steaks out of my house. I want your money back. She is not getting away with barging in here, manipulating you to buy steak. No, we are fighting this. And he's like, will you calm down? And we're just like going at it with each other. And he's like, there's nothing we can do. Call the number and yell at her. And so that's what I did. I took the brochure, and me being the shy person that I am, I never call anybody. I never answer the phone. I never yell at anybody. And what did I do? I picked up the phone and I called her. She's like, who's this? I'm like, yeah, you were just at my house and you sold my boyfriend's this steak that we did not even want. I want this steak out of my house, and I want our money back. I was online reading reviews about you guys, and you guys are a scam. You weren't welcome. We felt targeted, we felt uncomfortable, and we didn't know what to do. You're a crook, and I want that $52 back. She's like, oh, you were reading the reviews from our different location. Go and you'll find all positive reviews about me and all this. I hung up on her.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
I couldn't deal with the salesperson attitude like that. Oh, like, if you're not happy, you're not sad. No. If a customer wants a refund and they have not touched the product, they should be entitled to a full refund. Period. And I'm sitting there, my hands are shaking. I'm in tears. It didn't piss me off about necessarily the money or that it was steak. It was just, I felt targeted. I felt used. I felt cornered in my own house. I felt like I couldn't say anything. I couldn't speak up. I know that Brandon probably felt the same way. I know he tried his best to get her to leave. It wasn't working. So then I see she's calling me back. She called back. I yelled to Brandon, like, can you please come answer this? I guess he missed the call and she left me a voicemail, which I have not yet listened to. I asked Brandon, I'm like, did you invite her into the house? And he's like, no, I just saw her walking back carrying all this food. She just like walked up the step of the porch. And he's like, I just kind of like moved out of the way. I didn't like know what she was doing, and she just brought it in. No. He did not welcome her in. We don't invite anybody into our house, okay? I will walk outside to talk to you, and unless I personally invite you in, don't come into my house. So then Brandon calls her back, and I had to work out. I had to like blow off steam to like breathe for like 2 minutes, and then I paused my workout video and I hear him. He's like, well, I'd rather the steaks be gone than her be mad at me. Please, God, please just let this work, please. Then it's silent. I walk into the room. I'm like, what happened? He's like, she hung up on me. She hung up on him. They're trying to sell. Who is gonna buy 68 servings of meat for $459? That might be a good deal, but who needs 68 servings of meat? stupid boxes of meat. I don't know what to do now. Brandon's gonna go to the bank and change his card number because of how unreliable this place is. Brandon is kind of a pushover. That's just one of his characteristics, one of his traits. He's a very non-confrontational person. I called the woman and cursed her out, and Brandon was like, oh, I'd rather just, the stakes be gone than her be mad. I wish that he was more of a jerk. I wish he was more like me and more of a jerk. I couldn't bring myself to yell at her when she was here. Now, hindsight 2020, I could have just said, like, can you leave? It was all just a mess. I didn't know what to say at the time. It all happened so quickly. I don't care. If you are a salesman, a Jehovah's Witness, if you force your way into somebody's house, that is not okay. They have to say, come in, please come in, or like open the door for it. No, you don't just approach them carrying millions of boxes, just like make your way inside, barge your way, like, I know Brandon was just trying to be polite, and that's his nature. Sometimes in life you have to be a bit of a jerk, especially when it comes to your safety, your money, your house. You have to be a bit of a jerk. And I know to some people that scenario may not seem like a big deal. May I just say the day before, I spent the entire day watching videos on YouTube of urban legends that are actually true. Right here if you want to watch it. It's scary stuff. So I was seeing all this stuff about people escaping from mental hospitals, crazy people living in people's attics. I was freaked out the day before. Freaked out that somebody was living in my house, freaked out that there was crazy people outside. I had to regroup. And you hear those stories of people pretending to be cops and forcing their way into people's houses just to steal stuff. Like, it was just weird. It's not even about the money for me anymore. It's really just about not being a pushover. Brandon and I have both been quiet little pushovers that people have used our entire lives, and I am just sick of that. Like, I'm done with doing that. I've never cursed out anybody. I'm just done. That is the story of how sales lady barged into our house. Maybe she didn't barge. She was not welcome. I couldn't even sleep last night because of how upset I was and how anxious it made me. You don't just... I need to go before my head explodes. So I have more storytime videos if you guys are interested. I have stalker stories, period horror stories, all kind of things like that. So if you're interested in my other stories, if you're new here, you can check those out. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. And I promise not all my videos are this negative. Sometimes we just get really, really mad. I will see you guys again real soon. Until then, panda hugs. I love you guys. Bye! Officially becoming a vegetarian because of how freaking stupid this is. Look at steak. I have 5 million steaks in my freezer.